Hello, welcome back. My name's Daniel Gormally. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk a little bit more about the British Rapidplay because shout out to a friend of mine, Lee Bullock. He mentioned I haven't really been chatting about it. I probably should be chatting about it more, to be honest, because it's very rare for somebody. I feel like in a way it's my greatest achievement ever in chess. At the age of 47 years of age, to win a tournament as strong as that. I have done well lately, actually. I've won quite a few tournaments lately, and I feel one of the reasons I've done better lately is partly that because I've worked a little bit harder, and also I'm trying to play a lot more online. I'm trying to I find it boring playing online, to be honest. I don't like sitting there playing a lot online, but I find it a bit soulless, but I feel like you got to train every day. This is a difficult thing that I've found over the last few years. I'm sort of stuck up north, as she's chatting to a guy who's gave me a lift back. You know, I'm stuck up north. I don't train with anyone else. The whole process of studying chess becomes a little bit of a lonely, and get the violins out again, right? Because it becomes a little bit of a lonely and soulless experience. However, I feel like I've been playing reasonably well of late. My classical rating has gone down. But I have won a few tournaments, so that's often what you find. I mean, a friend of mine, Keith Arkle, he wins a lot of tournaments. His rating's gone down. Partly because it's just so hard now. You're playing against kids who are like underrated. And, even if you win tournaments, I won this tournament in British Rapidplay, got 9 out of 11, which is a big score, came equal first in the end, and won in the playoff. But I still lost rating. So let's have a look at some of the games anyway. So I played in round 2, I believe, played against another good junior called Hayat. I'm not sure about the pronunciation. Das Gupta. Seemed like a nice kid, actually. There's a funny conversation before the game, and he was like chatting to somebody, and he said, who you got? And his mate said, I've got some 1850. And I thought, that sums up the chess world, right? It's just like, we just categorise people as their rating. Anyway, I'm going to show you the game. And it's quite interesting because the other game I'm going to look at was actually very similar, the way the game. Let me just move that back a little bit, and then so I'll just try and, because yeah. So this is a way of playing that has become incredibly popular online recently, and it is a good way of playing. And it's funny how openings go in and out of fashion, because back in the day the Queen's Gambit declined. Wasn't that popular, but recently it's become very popular. And so Black's generally main idea is, if we categorise what Black is trying to do here, Black is trying to play A6 and then C5. If Black gets those moves in, they normally are at least equal, if not better. And then they get the Queen to B6. Start putting pressure on the centre. So I played the move A4, and partly that is to slightly discourage Black from, I believe A4 is one of the main ideas that White has here. Not a terrible move. So I just got the golf on the background, like gambling addicts are watching that. Scheffler just hit one of the bunker, but Burns is in good shape on the long par 3 second. He's got like a putt for birdie. But after A4, yes, generally the idea is to either force Black play. Maybe A6 is a good move here, actually. I have to investigate that further. But Black play D4. Now, I believe what I played is actually quite normal, which is to take. So I think this is a good sequence of moves. And I've played this in many games, actually, already, over the last few years. And the idea is to take, and you're really fighting for control with C5, or make it difficult for Black to play C5. However, I have a feeling I had a game online recently in Title Tuesday when my opponent played very accurately. Maybe they even went C5 here, right? Could you go C5 here? Because obviously you can't take on the pawn because e4 would be hanging. And if you do this, well, this can't be great for white. So your only really option is to take on c5 with a knight. However, after this, maybe black's just going to regain the pawn, right? Queen d5. You know, and then bring, yeah, so this might have been a better option to try and equalise for my opponent, or maybe even, yeah, fight for the win. Luke List has gone in the water because he's taking his shoes off. So he was leading, -3. He's in the water. But yeah, after knight e4, my opponent took, which I don't think is a great move. It's not a terrible move, but it kind of forces him to play very accurately. Because now I've got very clear pressure. So it's funny how the Gasanov game went in a very similar way, actually. So I feel like consistency in chess is very important. You look at the best players, they're often very consistent with the way they play, you know. Like Magnus Carlsen plays a very consistent way. So, you know, don't be too bothered. I mean, I often look at it and think, well, playing the same systems over and over again, how boring. It's not boring if it's winning and it's effective for you. So I played a very natural move here, knight e5. So I'm hoping for a tactical blunder. I'm hoping for this. Boom. Check. And this is just dead loss for black already. So you can't do that. So he went rook d8. And I went here. So all this is correct, but now I missed a very good move here, and I made a mistake. What I played wasn't that bad, but it wasn't the best. So you might want to pause. It's kind of it's not a tactical move, but it's like, what's the best move? You might want to pause your computer here and think what is the best move for black. Sorry, best move for white. Yeah, I think the best move here, I mean, you can take this pawn, which is not bad. But then they might even take on e5, take on b7, take on h2. And knight c6 is also playable. But the problem with here, I think, this was kind of annoying to me because I didn't really want to go d5. I felt like that wasn't very good. Okay, Ricky Fowler's over the ball. Ricky Fowler, I've got a bet on Ricky Fowler. How's he getting on? He's at the first. Let's hope he hits a good shot into the green. He's gone slightly right there, I think. He doesn't like it. No, he's hit a good one. He's hit a decent one. He's very good friends with Arnold Palmer, who's obviously dead for many years, but he was a great golfer called Arnold Palmer, won many majors. I believe the only major he didn't win was something like the PGA, right? I could be wrong about that. But Arnold Palmer was a legendary golfer in the Jack Nicklaus era. But Arnold Palmer was very good friends with Ricky Fowler. So there's a good connection there in the tournament. But yeah, the best move apparently was a6. And then you drive here, then you do what I did in the game. Or do, you know, so basically clamp down. So what I did is I went knight d3. My opponent responded very accurately. Very good move, bishop a6, which I missed. So now I can't clamp. You see, if you drive the bishop to a8, then you go knight d3. It's very hard for him to create any counterplay. Could, you know, something like this. This could end up very bad for black. Because if you go rook c1 and then you're taking his pawn, then it's just a very bad position. So Burns got another birdie putt. He just makes everything, this guy. He just missed that one. He's very close. Yeah, and then rook d5. Hovland's in the bunker. How's he get on with his bunker shot? Probably hold a bunker shot, right? Oh, he's hit a shocker out of the bunker. He's in the rough. That's not good. He'll probably make bogey from there at least. That's good, actually, because I haven't got Hovland. How's he getting on with his chip? Oh, he's hit a great chip. Yeah, they'll probably make bogey, right? So A6, yeah, I think that was also a mistake. Or I made a mistake around about here because I'm not sure exactly where I went wrong, but I definitely lost my advantage here, and I went rook. And it's funny actually because he offered the draw here, which I didn't really think about accepting because I thought I was way up on the clock. I didn't think I was in any danger of losing. And so Scheffler for par. I bet he makes it. Like, even though it's a long putt for par, I bet he makes it. He's made it. Oh no, he's missed. Oh, good. Because Scheffler's obviously the main threat, right? He's always the main threat. Rory as well. Cantlay. There's always the same people. Fowler, birdie putt. Yeah, so it's funny that you're for the draw at the exact precise moment where he was equal. But then, obviously, practically speaking, I thought it would be stupid to take a draw here. Because, yes, the position is quite drawish. Okay, Fowler most likely par. Wasn't a very good putt. But I thought he's still got some problems to solve. So I went here. Or maybe he took on A6 and offered a draw. But it was around about this point he offered a draw. But I went Bishop E8, which I prepared. Might not have been the best move, actually. But it creates this practical problem. So how should Black defend? Again, you might want to pause your computer. How should Black defend? The best move, which I'd seen, is Bishop F6. Actually, Bishop F6 is okay for Black. And I'd seen this. And I thought, I can go here. But then I started to realise, I can go here. Sorry, no, Queen. I think Queen here is even better. Because now, yeah, I don't actually have a good discover check. So it's just equal. The position is just equal, would have been a draw. But he blundered and he went F6, which is not a good move because the problem is it weakens his ball. So basically the game, yeah, and now he has to go Bishop D8. And I was expecting Bishop D8 because with Bishop E6, he can at least play the Queen and Pawn endgame and have some chances to hold. But he went Bishop, then Queen E8 power move to come in. And then basically it's like game over for him. So because he resigned because if King H8, then Queen Burns has just gone in the water. That's the thing with these Florida courses. There's a lot of water on the course, so you're going to have a lot of water balls. So basically he resigned here. So it's kind of like a light square symphony, right? Like the Bobby Fischer versus, but that's probably been a bit generous because it wasn't a very good game actually. It was basically based on this one mistake he made where he went F6. Other than that, it was a fairly close game. But I think with rapid play and with particularly with this time control because you're playing 15 plus 10, I thought one of the key things was staying ahead on the clock. Because once you were behind it, like when I lost to Stanley, for example, I was behind on the clock in that game. And I never really recovered the clock situation. He was always slightly ahead on the clock. A fast player, actually. So that's a tough one. So I think you have to be a little bit ahead on the clock. Or, you need to really play it like a blitz game. But with the advantage is that you've got a little bit of time. You've got a little bit of extra time if you need it. So let's have a look at the Gastonov game, which was very similar to that game in many ways. And Gastonov is a very good player, actually. He's from Ukraine. Well, he's got some connection with Ukraine and Russia, apparently. But he lived in Russia. That's what I was told. For some time. Maybe his wife is Russian. Or his wife is Azerbaijani. I can't remember. But he seems like a nice guy. And again, I played this A4 move. And, well, apparently that's actually not the best move. What does it say? Why is A4 not good? A4 is the top move according to the engine. But Rook C1 is much more likely. There's 16 games of Rook C1. So I went A4, which the engine probably, it's kind of similar to Rook C1. You're kind of doing the same thing. You're fighting for control over this, yeah. So actually, he was thinking a long time here. I felt like he was sort of not familiar with these positions because he was spending a lot of time. And, that is dangerous where rapid play time controls. Fowler's hit one into this really long par 3. Has he hit a good one? Oh, he's just got over the bunker. That means it's a good shot. So he's on the green with a birdie putt. Yeah, good shot, Fowler. Ricky Fowler. Never won a major. One of the best players to never win a major, actually, currently playing. He should have won probably several majors already. I think 2014 he was in the top 5 in all 4 majors. And he narrowly lost to Rory at Valhalla in the PGA, which at that time the PGA would have been the final major of the year. Phil Mickelson was in the mix in that tournament as well. And he narrowly finished runner-up to Patrick Reed in the 2018 Masters. I remember that because I would have won 17 grand if Fowler had won. As it was, I still won quite a lot of money, but I didn't win 17 grand. So in this position, yeah, I was concerned about this because I thought knight e4 f5. This kind of position is very unclear, very murky indeed, and maybe it can be very good for black because they're going to go like c5, right? Queen b6. Who knows? Who knows? But he took with a bishop, which I was kind of pleased to see because now I get my kind of binding, right? And if they go back, then you go rook c1. The whole point is to kind of make it awkward for them to play c5. And sometimes you can even camp the knight in on c5. Just to prevent that by force. If they insist with rook c8, you might well play knight c5 just to stop c5. It's very important. You don't want to allow them to break out. You've got to clamp down. If they break out, they've got at least an equal position, maybe better. Admittedly, you also have maybe queen e2 here because a6 is weak. But when they go c5, but queen e2, they can go queen b6 as well. But he went castles, and then I think I went for, yeah, and then weirdly enough, we had a similar position I had in round 2. Yeah, so this position, I was thinking a little bit about playing knight d2, but I wasn't sure how to judge this. And I thought about this, but I thought, yeah, it's got moves like knight e5, you know, or apparently you can play this, but I think this is quite nice for white. But I wasn't sure, totally sure, because it's quite drawish as well, because of the opposite colour bishops. But what does the engine say, actually? Yeah, it doesn't really give me any kind of big edge, right? But I think what I played was also not better for white, or not great for white. I went here, so he did all the right stuff. But he was just taking too long to do it. That was the problem. Because by the time he played c4, he was already getting into time pressure. You know, and this is what I said actually about the tournament, that in a way I was kind of like in a comfortable position because I'm like, you know, there's no pressure on me. I'm not one of, you know, I mean, I was on 3.5 out of 5 and the leaders were on 5 out of 5, including Gasanov and also Shreyas. And then they were up there the whole way. So they're feeling the pressure. They're playing the really tough pressure games. When I played Jonah Willer on board 1 in round 4, I was really nervous because it was like a pressure game. And I thought they were having to do that every single round. So I didn't feel nervous at this point. I'd already lost the game. So I felt quite, you know, quite happy to lose. Everyone's happy to lose, right? But yeah, here, weirdly enough, he's got this good defence. So what is the best way to recapture? So try and think about the position. What is the best way that he should recapture? And I think we both kind of got it a little bit wrong here. Okay, so again, pause your thing, but he shouldn't take the pawn like he did. Which is not a terrible move, but I think the best move was queen e6. And the point is, if you go here, he goes rook b8, which I'd seen this, but for some reason I think I've forgotten now. I have no square for the queen, right? I mean, you can go queen d2 though. Queen d2, queen e4, queen d7, but I'm not convinced that that is that great. Also, after queen d2, there might be something else. What does the engine say again? I forget. Yeah. Apparently, it's still like it's just okay. So I think we should have taken back with it. But it's you know, when you're short of time, you've got to basically make decisions quickly. So he took the pawn, but I think practically this is very dangerous for black because of the light square weaknesses. In the position, his king is now much less safe than my king. My king is like a rock, right? Look at that king; it's just solid. Could just solid as a rock, right? Could just sit there forever. It's a little bit. I've studied this game from way back. It was one of the Karpov-Kasparov games from 1984 match, and they had this opposite coloured bishop's position. It was different. It was very similar structure to this, but the knights were off the board. But I think Karpov was a pawn up, whereas here I'm not a pawn up. Or something like that. There was some kind of weird parameter about the position. But the knights were off the board. But it was a very similar structure to this. And Kasparov got tortured and ended up losing. And that was one of the games in a sequence where he ended up getting to 5-0. So he was 5-0 down against Karpov in the first match in 1984. And he played a Tarrasch, and he got this kind of similar structure, and he lost. And I think that was the reason why, partly why he ended up quitting the Tarrasch and stopped playing the Tarrasch as black, because he's kind of realised he's suffering a little bit against a positional player like Karpov. So, interesting, yeah, your memory can help you a lot in chess games. So I felt comfortable here, because I felt there was a little bit like this Karpov-Kasparov game with the light square domination for white. But I think here as well I didn't play particularly accurately as usual. And my next move is maybe not the best. Apparently I'm supposed to go knight d4 here, which is tough to see, right? I did consider vaguely playing knight d4, but I just thought it felt like I want to get a position where I've got the light square bishop against the dark square bishop rather than exchange off the bishop. Left, but the problem is if he takes here, I take back, and then yeah, he's got a few problems. I know maybe now he can take and go a5. So maybe you take with a pawn actually. I can't remember, but oh no, so it's rook b4. Sorry, very bad analysis. Rook b4. Yeah, rook b4, and white is doing quite well, very well actually. But yeah, but here I went here, and now he's made a big mistake. Like a losing mistake. Because you're short of time, you just got to make a move. So this is why rapid play is tough. I think he's got a great move here. And basically, like, he needs to play it with an iron hand. Tough move to find. But what is the best move here, according to the engine? Again, pause your computers. Have a think. This is a very tough problem, actually. I mean, to find it at rapid play, the best move is, well, is tough. He's supposed to play the move a5. Burns has just really screwed up this hole. I think he's made like double or something. Yeah, he's made double bogey, which is a nightmare for. But Burns is a good player. Sam Burns. I think he's from somewhere like down south, right? Where's Sam Burns from? Should know this. He's not from Florida or California, is he? Fowler, not great putt. He's got a lot of work left for par. Right, maybe somewhere like Louisville. No, I'm getting mixed up with Justin Thomas. I should know where Sam Burns is from, which state he's from. Matsuyama miss. The birdie. Par. Yeah, the best move is a5. And a5 is a good move because you basically play with an iron hand. You're like, well, what's your threat? Your threat is maybe to go here. Well, I can meet that with knight f6. Your threat is to go bishop b3. I can meet that with knight c5 or whatever. Maybe rook f6 is also possible. So I think a5 was, from memory, that was okay for black. Yeah, and I still think white is better, like, because of light squares, but when he plays the next move, I was like, oh, happy days. I'd already seen this, and I thought, rook d1 is surely very strong, very hard for black to defend. If he goes queen e7, well, there's a number of good moves. For example, I could just grab the pawn. Why not just grab the pawn, right? I mean, there's also queen c7. Maybe queen c7 is winning by force, but he does have rook d8, so I don't see a win there. I didn't see a win. It looked dangerous, but dangerous is not the same as... Maybe a5 is an option. It looks very uncomfortable for black, this position. Bishop a4 is threatened. Bishop b3. Queen c6. But I think probably objectively you just take the pawn, right? You know, why are you just taking the pawn? It'd be stupid not to take the pawn. So I don't think he did that. I think in this position he went knight e5. And I thought a long time about, I wasn't sure about, actually I didn't think for very long, I must admit, because partly I was nervous, I was playing on his time by this point. I thought about taking on d6. And then when he takes, either taking this pawn or this pawn, I thought objectively this must be winning. Because, yes, he's got a very strong B pawn, and that could be a dangerous factor, but I just felt like bishop b3's coming. This felt like must be completely winning, right? No, it's not. That was knight a5. Wow. It's not winning. Wow, knight a5. Who the hell is going to find knight a5? Typical computer resource, right? Beautiful idea, but tough to, if he doesn't find it, let's say he plays a move like rook b8, he must be busted. Bishop b3, yeah, he's busted. But knight a5, brilliant resource. Wow. And if I take this one, I guess he's got a lot of counterplay, right? He is still knight a5. So I think I made the right decision, which was to keep the queens on. Because objectively, I thought his king is a lot weaker than mine. Because of this this weakness on this long diagonal. It's well known that in a middle game, like opposite colour bishops, if you take all the pieces off, if you take the queen, the rook, take all the heavy pieces off the board, the game will be a draw, or it's objectively a draw. Because opposite colour bishops is very drawish in the endgame, is well known. However, in the middle game, the player who has the attack, this is very good. I mean, my opponent would have been aware of this as well, because obviously the Eastern connection with Russia and Ukraine, it was well known in Soviet chess schools that this is one of the big strategic advantages you could get. There's even a chapter in one of the Dvoretsky books where he talks about these Simagin games, I think, where he actually shows these Simagin games where he wins with the opposite coloured bishops in a middle game with an attack. So I felt very confident here, and I thought I could either grab, and I thought, well, why not grab a pawn? Because it's always a good idea to grab a pawn. I didn't see anything that he could do that was particularly great. And I'm just going to go rook f1. Yeah, I think my first original instinct was to go rook f1, and I thought that was a good idea. And again, we probably must be winning if you go rook f1. You're not worried about moves like this because you can just go queen e2, for example. But I thought actually I saw a better move, which was to go f4. And the idea behind f4 is I'm clamping down this e6 weakness. So my threat is to go rook d6. I've got several threats there. I've got bishop b3 as a threat. I've got queen d3. So I felt very confident of winning by this point. And I thought if he goes queen here, I go g3. Partly I felt confident because I was so up on the clock. So when you've got a winning position and you're ahead on the clock, if I had a win, it was the other way around the clock, it might have been different. And I might have thought I might lose this because I know Gasanov's a really good blitz player. And if I'm short on the clock, even in a great position, I could probably screw it up and lose. But because I was so up on the clock, I felt confident here. I felt I was going to win the game probably. And it just looked like a winning position anyway. Like, how's he going to defend against all these threats? It's impossible with no time to realistically come up with any ideas. It's very hard to see a defence because if you go here, I go queen here. What can you play? There's no good move here. G6, you just take it with a rook. So he played queen e7, and I played an accurate move. I was quite pleased with my play. I felt like I was, you know, because it's easy. I thought if I go here, I mean, admittedly this is still winning, but he goes e4, which is slightly annoying. But admittedly this is still winning. Because I can either then take with a bishop and probably, like, everything wins by this point. It didn't really matter. But queen c4 was quite an accurate move because I want to force him to get to an even worse square, and then I go queen e4